Those in the fire service know you're always praying for that call that you get to come to work with the fire department. I tested in various cities around the valley. It was in December of 1982 that I got a phone call from the acting chief for La Venda. And he said, "Mark, would you like to come and work for Glendale Fire?" Of course, when you get done screaming and yelling, you pick the phone back up and you say, "Glad to." And he said, "You'll report to work in January." It was January 14th, 1983, that I went through all my paperwork and started in the training academy.
So what was Glendale like when you became a firefighter and you joined the city officially? How big was it? How many stations did you have? How many firefighters?
There was around 60 firefighters roughly, and we had 3 stations. We were actually hired for Station 154 that's at 44th Avenue in Peoria. The construction wasn't complete, there were delays, and so we ran 2 trucks out of station, back then it was Station 51, at 50th Avenue in Orangewood. When I got hired at that time, Orangewood used to dead end at 51st Avenue going east. It had just been opened up to go on to 47th Avenue. When we ran north of around Bell Road on 59th Avenue, it was nothing but orange groves.
Did you want to be a fire chief in 1983?
Certainly not. In fact, in the academy, they asked us to write down our plan for our career. And one of the things they said was, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? In 5 years, I saw myself as being an engineer, the driver of the truck. In 10 years, I'd hoped to be a captain. And in 15 years, I said I would consider being a battalion chief. Certainly not the fire chief, but a battalion chief. 10 years on the job, we had a fire chief from outside the organization. He didn't care for this department too much. He was frustrated. We could see that frustration. And at that time, I thought, I remember back in the early years of my employment, I looked forward to coming to work every single day. Firefighter works 24 hours on, 40 hours off. I wanted that 48 hours to race by so I could come back to work. At the 10-year mark, a lot of the morale wasn't real good. The morale wasn't real high, and I thought, someday I'd like to be a fire chief so I can help try to improve the morale. And that's the honest to God truth. I thought, if I could make an environment where people look forward to coming to work like I did in my early years, then I'd be successful. So that's really when I started thinking about being a fire chief. Never once thought about being fire chief of a city the size of Glendale. I thought I might make it somewhere in some little rural town somewhere, somewhere in rural Arizona that I might be eligible there, but nothing like Glendale. I don't think everybody understands what it's like to serve in the capacity that the men and women of the organization serve. I mean, you see some terrible things, but you also see some wonderful things. But it's kind of a weird thing because you go into a firefight and your adrenaline is very high. And I've had a lot of fires that I've responded to, but one in particular where I went in and it was a lot of heat. It was just a simple house fire. It was a slump block home. It was extremely hot inside. My firefighter was getting burned, and he basically said, I can't take it, I gotta go. And he bailed out. And I took the hose line and advanced into the fire. And I will tell you, it was one of those ones where it was just a very active firefight that I was able to knock this down. Now today, I'd get in trouble because you can't stay in a fire by yourself. But back then, I was able to stop the fire, hold it where it was and knock it down. And it's just one of those things that are rewarding experiences that you're doing. That's what we're paid to do, to save these individuals' home, their property. And knowing that when somebody loses their whole house to fire, they lose all their worldly possession, they lose their photographs, everything near and dear to them is burned up. And I was able to stop this fire. So you have those kind of things that you remember. They're just fun. They're nice memories. Some of the difficult ones, there's many of them. There's one in particular. The negative side, there's some tough ones, and some of them you don't wish to speak about, but some of them, like the drownings, are particularly difficult, and the drownings, believe it or not, were ones that motivated me to promote. I wanted to believe it or not, get away from that emotion that when you're there and a mother or father is grabbing you and screaming at you to save their child, I can't convey how deeply that cuts you, especially when you have your own children, and especially when you look at a child and that child looks like your child. Those are rough. The only other one I'd say is I had a call one time, and it was a car pedestrian accident on Grand Avenue. A young man, he was 15 years old, jumped off a bus and wanted to beat his friends across to the Circle K. And he didn't look and ran out in front of a young gal. It was sad. She had no chance to do anything, and she hit him. Our guys got there, and they were trying to do some life-saving measures, but you know, you can make a determination that's too far, and so they called him, and they covered him up, and we moved him into the ambulance just to get him out the street. And police came, and they were with the gal and who hit him. The boy's mother and her friend showed up on the scene, and the officer said, "Will you take her to see her son? She wants to see her son." Now, he was deceased in the back of the ambulance, covered up, and I said yes. So I walked over and pulled the sheet down, and he looked like my son. And that one I'll never forget either, because that's tough. And she sat there and said, 5 minutes ago we were playing. And she kept saying his name and said, "We were just playing. Why are you here?" The friend was screaming hysterically, but the mother wasn't screaming. She was, you could tell, she was just dismayed. That one hurt really bad. And those are the things that these guys deal with. And that's why maybe I'm a little too emotional at times when I talk about the firefighters and the job they do, because people don't get to see that side of what you walk away with. The fire service, like all areas, are becoming more and more complex. There's more technology, there's more service lines, if you will, in the fire service. In 1983, when I came on, we had evolved into paramedicine. There were rescue trucks out there running. There were a couple of paramedics on that. The firefighters were on the engine. The technology they used, back then we had heart monitors, but they were very, very basic. We've been using 12 lead EKG monitors. That's like what you see in the hospital. These guys are doing things today, techniques and treatments that are just amazing to me, the advancements from what I did. You look at a fire truck, again, when I was hired, I rode on the tailboard. You know, you strapped on a little strap, you had your helmet on, you sat in the back and you hung on. And we found out across the country we were losing firefighters doing that. It wasn't a good practice, so enclosed cab trucks came along, we put them inside. Seat belts, we mandate the use of seat belts. You know, a lot of different things. The technology in the turnouts we use, the air packs we use, has all evolved. And when I mentioned service lines, you know, one of the greatest things that I feel the Glendale Fire Department has migrated to, and my hat's off to, you know, Lynette Jelinek and the crisis response folks, is that we brought in crisis response where volunteers go out and assist people either in a fatality or a critical patient or a fire, where they stay with them. You know, in the past, we just got on the truck and said, sorry, you know, we have to go, and left them. Crisis response comes in and they stay. Volunteers stay and help them get to a hotel, help them get to the hospital, begin the grieving process, begin to direct them to resources. It's just a fantastic, you know, addition to the service. And there's been growth areas like that. Technical rescue has evolved in the last few years. We have hazard materials that continues to evolve to higher levels of what we have to respond to. You know, there's nasty things out there, and these guys, you know, it's just the metering, the equipment they use is amazing today. We didn't have 911 when I started. They didn't do 911 calls. In fact, 1983, I'm not sure. I think we just went from rotary to the push button. But we didn't have pagers. We didn't have cell phones.
So, what are your top 2 or 3 accomplishments as the chief of Glendale? When you look back, what can you say? You know what? These are some things that I was able to do with the team here, of course, and I'm really proud of them, and they'll have a lasting effect on this community.
First and foremost, there's nothing that I did, because you said it with a team, and without the team, you do nothing. As the fire chief, you can have a million ideas a minute, and you can go out and talk to staff and say, let's do this, 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 this. Unless your team buys in and carries that water, it doesn't happen. But, but collectively, with this group of individuals, I think there's been some amazing things done over the years. On the prevention side, I guess when you talk about the things that we're proud of, to prevent the incident from ever happening is the greatest accomplishment you could do. We're very reactive, obviously, in the fire service. We want to be out there letting people know what to do before it happens. Today, they're very involved in smoke detector installations, in particular in mobile homes. But if we can prevent a drowning, if we can alert somebody to a fire, if we can tell people how to live healthier, safer lives, as we talk about, and prevent that call, that's where we're most successful. We staffed the back of a helicopter with AirVac. They approached us and said we'd be willing to do it. We did it. I'm very proud we did it regionally. We invited some of our neighboring communities to participate. That's providing a higher level of service to the citizens. Air Transports gets in there. There's a number of saves documented from that. That's a great program, very successful. We partnered with the University of Arizona Medical Center. We did the Rampart study on seizure medications, on which is the most effective and efficient. We changed the seizure protocols across the nation.
So you want to push hard and fast. And
but additionally, we worked with Dr. Ben Bobrow, who's a state medical director, and he is done extensive research on continuous chest compressions on CCC, they call it. Instead of traditional CPR where you don't have to blow in the mouth, you just do chest compressions. We have seen an increase from about 16% survival rate of a witnessed cardiac event to about a 35%, 40% survival rate. Some parts of the valley have seen above 50%. Do you realize that's 1 out of 2 people could survive that event just from the change in that training? And I'm proud of the fact that Chuck Montgomery, one of our deputy chiefs, brought that forward. I really liked when we did our pilot program with Luke Air Force Base. We dual staffed an engine at Luke between 2 Glendale firefighters and 2 airport firefighters. The assistant chief out there, Tony Ravanza, told me, he said, "Mark, I know we've never done this in the Air Force." And he said, "But I don't believe that this has ever been done in the Department of Defense." And I like that one, that dual staff. I have a very positive attitude about the future. And the only way you can say that is when you look back 32 years, and we've had hard times, we've had recessions, we've had economic downturns, and they come and go, they ebb and flow. And when the positive times come and you're able to explore and look at new technologies, we leap forward. And I think that's the most exciting thing to me. I could make predictions all day long, but you know what? All I know is at the end of the day, the culture of the Glendale Fire Department that I believe was set by Don Heatwall as the first fire chief. The culture of the Glendale Fire Department is that we are going to continue to have individuals who are fast, caring, innovative, and professional. We're going to have individuals who are committed to serve the public the best way they know how. And when you think again about the job of firefighter, I always tell the guys, when you come in the morning and you put your gear on that truck, you're making a conscious decision that you're willing to die for your community. Sounds very dramatic, but it's the truth. Every firefighter wants to go home in the morning, but yet every firefighter knows that something could happen that day that could cause them to lose their life. I don't know any way to tell the public that you've got a committed group of folks than folks that are willing to say, I'll make the ultimate sacrifice to defend my community. To me, that's why I know we're going to go forward in a very, very good way, a very positive way, and embrace technology, embrace new programs and projects, and weave them in so we continue to deliver the highest level of customer service possible. Everybody who walks out the door says you'll miss the people. And I think, number one, I'm going to miss the people. Across the board, and I will tell you, in City Hall and in the fire stations, work with a great team. They're dedicated people in this city that represent their own departments, be it transportation, water, human resources, finance, budget, you name it, marketing, you name it. They're dedicated, they're committed as much as I believe the police chief, the fire chief are to public safety. I'll miss the people, but equally, I'll miss the opportunities. This job has afforded me some phenomenal opportunities to work with business leaders in the community, to work with sports venues in the community, to work with different people, places, things, if you will, that we can do some exciting, innovative, creative programs. That really helped motivate me. You know, it takes the relationships, it takes the people, that's the part of it, so you miss that. But really that opportunity to look at something and say, how do we make that work? How do we make that opportunity benefit the citizens, benefit the firefighters, benefit the city? That's just an exciting challenge, and is exciting. It's what gets you up in the morning. This city and this department has been extremely good to me. And I am very, very happy when you see people, and you'll be at a party or something talking to people, and they're kind of, I do this or this or this. I've always been one to say I've been blessed every day I've come to work. It's a true blessing.